Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. All right, so as we've been talking all week, I hope you found this subject interesting. I love the subject of emotional intelligence. There is something called emotional vibrancy, because I was playing with it today and I was thinking, well, what would emotional vibrancy look like then? We know about what emotional intelligence is, being able to move through your day, making emotionally intelligent decisions by sitting with someone for a moment, not always having the need to fill the air with mindless chatter, being able to properly put together an apology and see your own wrong, and just all the different pieces of what emotional intelligence is. But this thing called emotional vibrancy, well, I just thought, well, I just came up with that. I apparently did not, because I Googled it. A bunch of stuff showed up. So as I was reading through and kind of getting an idea of this idea of emotional vibrancy, what I found was that it is part of emotional intelligence, but really what comes first is emotional intelligence before we can get to the place of emotional vibrancy. It's really fascinating. And psychologists say that the key to emotional vibrancy is the key to successful aging. Isn't that fascinating? I thought that was absolutely mind-boggling. And there's a reason why behind all of it. So we're going to, obviously be talking about the concept of what this emotional vibrancy is all about. So it's the quality. This is what emotional vibrancy is. This is the definition. It's the quality of harnessing zest, positive energy, and radiant, glowing health. So it's not just about your emotions, but it's also about your health, because how your health affects your emotions, we all know that, right? We all understand how that all works. And this is exactly what it is. It's bringing the health component in to help land our emotional vibrancy. Isn't that so cool? And there's absolutely, this has been studied by psychologists. I love this. I think it's just so great. So emotional vibrancy is the sense of calm and peace, even when we're challenged, because we get challenged all the time. Anybody, is there anyone that you know of that has somehow managed to live a life that hasn't been challenged in some way? Of course not. We've all been challenged, but how do we react? Do we act like 2-year-olds who've had their toys taken away from them? Or do we act with grace and dignity? And do we process what all of this means when we are, being challenged, really being pushed, waiting in a long line in traffic? They say that's the true value of a man. You can see the true value of a man the way he interacts in traffic and how that all works. Sometimes that's not a very good thing. Have you ever seen a man in traffic, or maybe a woman in traffic? Is that you? Emotional vibrancy calls us to a different level when we understand that we're going to be tapped on the shoulder for emotional vibrancy, especially during trying times. So what we're looking at, what is emotional vibrancy anyway, except energy? It's energy. It's not dragging through the day. It's not sitting on the couch. It's getting up. It's doing things. It's understanding that the movement of what it is that you're doing is going to affect how it is that you're feeling. We know that. I mean, we've talked about this, and getting your health, your gut in order is really important because serotonin lives. 95% of serotonin lives in your gut, and then that makes you feel better. But beyond, all the physiological stuff of getting your gut in order and having an outlet for your emotions and being able to process everything, there is this concept of emotional vibrancy, because it is a cultivated thing. It is a cultivated thing. So we seed it first with emotional intelligence, because without emotional intelligence, you can't get to the place of emotional vibrancy. Emotional vibrancy is different entirely. And then body language is part of emotional vibrancy. Think about it for a minute. Think about somebody who's slumped over, who's got his or her head down. And do you want to approach somebody like that? Think about what it's like to stand up straight, put your shoulders back, and maybe even put your hands on your hips, kind of like, I don't know, Wonder Woman. Having good posture is something that needs to be addressed, and it's something that needs to be sought after. It doesn't naturally happen. When you take dance class, that's one of the first things that they do when you're in, taking any kind of ballet bar or anything like that. Your immediately your posture is addressed. You want to make sure that your hips are stacked, that you have an elongated spine. They say like there's a cord coming through your head and just pulling everything up. And this is important because it also changes your physiology. All slumped over, you're going to be shut down a little bit. All opened up, and it's amazing how you're emotionally open as well. Movement greatly affects the way that emotional vibrancy plays out in your life. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Also, your thoughts, what you're thinking about, your words, the things that you're saying, all of this stuff plays into the emotional vibrancy that you have or you don't. So emotional vibrancy is the key. Once again, I'll say it again because I think it's really important to successful aging. Think about it this way. I remember, when I was a younger woman, much younger woman, and seeing this 85-year-old woman who would every day go walk to the grocery store. It was a mile each way, but it was her way of holding on to her emotional vibrancy, because she was physically active. She felt, and she said, and she would say, as long as I can do it, I will, because she knew there was an attachment there to this vibrancy. So that's what psychologists say is the key to this whole thing is movement. So let's take a look at what this is directly, by the way, from psychologists. This is not me making stuff up. Number one is being physically active most days. Well, we know this anyway. Your doctor's going to tell you that. Everybody says, yeah, you need to be physically active most days. Moving for a minimum of 30 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to take it a step further for you and say that we just need to make sure and be aware that we're not sitting all day long. When you sit all day long, first of all that sitting, you're going to lose muscle. If you lose muscle, guess what takes its place, right? By the way, muscle never turns into fat, and fat never turns into muscle. But certainly you can get more fat, and certainly you can lose muscle. So as you lose the volume of your muscle and it shrinks and gets smaller, that it atrophies naturally, because if it's not used, it's not going to, it's just going to go away. And that's your shield for your bones. If your muscle's gone, what's going to protect your bones? And especially as your bones get brittle, think about it this way. You're going to lose your vibrancy in a red hot hurry. So like I said, sitting is the new smoking. Get your butt up off the chair. Set alarms on your phones and just get up and do something. Move it. It takes years off your life, by the way. 15 years off your life if you're a constant sitter. And, we all are sitting. I'm sitting all day long, but I get up and I move and I go up and down the stairs. I purposely leave my water upstairs, so I have to go upstairs to drink my water. And I get in, an extra up and down the stairs about, 6-7 times a day. Easy. So it helps to keep things moving. One of the things that you can do is make a fitness schedule, because we understand and we need to honor that all kinds of fitness need to fit into our equation. It's not one thing. It's not just lifting weights. It's not just walking. It's not just one thing. It's a lot of different things. First of all, functional fitness is walking, and it's one of the best things that you can do for your body. It helps to keep walkers don't usually have backs that hurt. They don't, because they're moving all the muscles. It requires a lot of muscle to move. It requires core muscles and back muscles, and it's really, really extraordinary for you. So I strongly suggest that you get into a walking habit and add that into the equation. So that's one of the things that you can do. Also, strength training is, again, we want to strengthen our muscles to protect our bones. It also protects our bones. It's, the whole thing works together. The other thing is a little bit of flexibility as well. This is huge. I'm going to talk more about that, and adding in a little bit of endurance. This is the HIIT training that we do. Strength for us is strength in your body is strength in your mind, and it's strength in your heart as well. And it changes everything. Changes the way you feel. It changes your mood. It changes your physiological self. It changes your body chemistry. It's everything. But sitting is depressing, and we keep doing those same things, we are going to feel depressed. It's just, that's how that whole thing works. But balance and flexibility, this is number 2, boosts your brain and helps you get the blood moving, which is really important. Another thing that you can do to help strengthen your brain is to use your non-dominant hand. So if you are a right-handed person, use your left hand for brushing your hair or brushing your teeth or even eating. Just every once in a while, it strengthens the neural pathways in your brain, and it also boosts just brain function overall, because it makes you have to think a little bit harder. Isn't that so cool? And it's a fun thing to do every once in a while. And Mark it's funny enough, he's a lefty, he's left-handed, but he's ambidextrous when it comes to, like, when he chops onions, and he'll use his right hand. Funny. Yeah, balance is important too. Hey, Lucy, by the way, hi. I'm glad you're here. Kimberline, you too. But yeah, working on better balance. One thing that I do every day, I think I've shared this with you, is when I put my leggings on, and I pretty much wear yoga pants every day, and usually a hoodie. Yeah, can you just tell? I'm just the fashion plate, I know. But usually what I will do is stand on one leg, and I'll trade off which leg I'm going to be standing on, and hold that leg as I'm putting on my leggings. And you're putting leggings on, they're tight, so you're kind of putting them on almost like, remember the pantyhose thing? Remember that, anyone? So that's basically how I do it, and I do it like that on purpose, because it requires more balance. The other thing is I take barre classes, 3-4 times a week. And so that's easy. You just, I just do it without the bar. I just do, and I do everything balanced. So it makes everything different. Joanne says she used both hands almost every day, was left-handed, but Dad made me use my right hand. So I'm sure that is why it is so easy. Wow, that's weird. They used to do that back in the day, and they traumatized people. But that's funny. That is funny. So anyway, those are things that you can do. The other thing is, like, if you're standing and doing the dishes, why not just lift a foot in the air in the back? You've got the counter right there, and just hold it for a little bit. We have a tendency always to do, use our dominant foot or hand or whatever, but and make a conscious decision to change the other foot and do that. Yoga positions and all of that really, really help a lot. But that kind of thing, and then the flexibility portion, big time. That helps a lot. Remember, all of this movement creates a change in body chemistry. All of it. It changes your body's chemistry. That is critical. That is massively important. When you change your body's chemistry, you're changing everything. You're changing your mood. The depression is leaving. It is incredible the way that all works out. Number 3 is rest. Now, you've heard me talk just a little bit on sleep. You might say, yeah, sleep. But here's the thing you need to know. It's not just sleep, it's also rest. Time to just veg. Time to just lay down and maybe take a stroll instead of a power walk. Maybe just lay out in the on your front lawn and just look at clouds like you did when you were 6 years old. We need those periods of time for reflection and for looking at things and being out in nature. Makes all the difference in the world. There was an old saying that if you are a lumberjack, you need 2 days to sharpen the saw and 1 day to work the trees. And this is the thing that is so important about this and understand about this is that when you allow for those periods of rest, you become more creative, sharper, like that saw, and also able to barrel through and get things done. You can't do that when you're constantly on. This is why on some Sundays, you'll find me in a pair of pajamas all day long. And other times we're out doing things, we're taking hikes, we're on the boat, we're doing all kinds of stuff. But there's just times where you just need to not do anything and just chill out. Number 4 is to volunteer. Volunteer and volunteer responsibly. Can I just put that out there? Because I've noticed a lot of my gals, especially when I've been doing coaching, they've got homes they're trying to get put together. They've got themselves that they're trying to put together, and they have no time because they've over volunteered. And we have to look big picture at what our lives are about and what it is that we're trying to accomplish. When we're volunteering, though, it's such a neat thing to be able to give from that big well of resource that we have, that God has so graciously given us. And as long as we are doing this responsibly, I believe it helps us with our purpose. It also helps us to find our purpose. But it is generally our purpose anyway, because what is our purpose here on this earth anyway, except to help others? That's why we're here. We all have a unique way that we're doing it. We have seasons that we do this in. But when you've got the time and when you've got the ability, volunteering is one way that you can spark that little spark in someone else and in yourself as well. And it creates this emotional vibrancy. Isn't that so cool? Same thing with the last one, number 5, is learning something new. When we are challenging ourselves to learn something new, maybe crocheting or knitting or something like that, Sudoku, maybe it's something like, I don't know, a game, playing some kind of a board game with the family, or learning a new language. Any of that challenges your brain, and that helps to keep you sharp, and that helps to keep your edge on being emotionally vibrant. Isn't that what you want? That's what I want. I want to be vibrant and happy and just glad about my day every single day. Every single day. We can do that. And it's the movement, basically, that's going to trigger it. I like that. Peace be with you. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.